Some days, I want to eat everything in sight. You can call it weakness, the munchies, or simply a bad habit. But what if your appetite can be reined in without willpower? Before you raid the pantry, stay tuned to learn how to tame your appetite. Healthy isn't just what you do, it's who you become. I'm Dr. Vickie, and this is Healthy Looks Great on You, a lifestyle medicine podcast to help you reclaim your energy, your focus, and your well-being. Life tested, doctor approved. I eat a lot. No, seriously. My portions are bigger than your portions, but probably not bigger than my sister's. We are big eaters. I like food, and fortunately, I like all food, because I think picky eaters have a harder time. Now, my friends probably think I'm a picky eater. Recently, my husband had a pretty bad accident, and a few of my friends told me they were hesitant to offer a meal because they know I'm particular about my diet. I mean, I'm not that particular. I'll eat whatever. Wait, before you get the wrong idea, recently I posted a reel, and I posted a recipe that was for a delicious meal that I whipped up in about 15 minutes. It was very affordable and packed with nutritious foods like beans and tomatoes and spinach. Instead of pasta noodles, I used frozen zucchini strips. They're called zoodles with a Z, but when I posted it, it got autocorrected to doodles with a D. So when I say I'll eat anything, don't get the wrong idea. I don't mean the dog. Zoodles, like noodles, not doodles. Okay, now that we've cleared that up, let's talk about your appetite. Do you have trouble staying on a diet because you're hungry? Can I tell you something life-changing? If you are hungry, you should eat. Yep, that's right. If you're hungry, eat. Of course, what you eat matters, and we'll get to that. But first, I want you to think about all the reasons that you might eat other than being hungry. Are you bored, lonely, dehydrated, or mindlessly sliding into an old habit? Because food does not satisfy any of those, except watermelon might quench your thirst, but boredom, loneliness, and habit are just big pretenders of appetite. Grabbing a little dose of comfort food might temporarily seem like it helps you deal with uncomfortable feelings, but the problem is it can trigger a guilt-shame cycle that perpetuates itself. A sugar-triggered dopamine hit might make you feel good for a bit, but then leaves you full, not of nutrients, but of regret. So next time you feel an urge to eat, pause and ask yourself, am I hungry? If yes, then eat. But if the answer is no, ask yourself what you're really feeling. If it's boredom, then you need entertainment, not food. But here's the deal. If you find yourself standing in the pantry at 9 o'clock at night, it's unlikely you came there because all is right with the world. Nope. And good decisions usually start much earlier in the day. So if you're looking to curb the late night habit of snacking, then morning is actually the place to start, or at least before dinner. Maybe set aside some time on Saturday morning to put together an idea box and fill it with activities you enjoy, maybe crossword puzzles, a book, or knitting, or a home manicure set, whatever. Just be creative. You could write down some prompts on index cards like memorize a verse, or walk up and down the steps 4 times, or treat yourself to a bubble bath. Just think of things that comfort you without consuming empty calories. Here's the key. Have these ideas or activities at your fingertips and decide early in the day what you'll do when an unhealthy craving hits. Same for loneliness. Keep a list of people you can call or text in the long hours of the evening. Or maybe a good book to lose yourself among interesting characters. And if it's a habit you're dealing with, try putting a motivational quote right there in front of the cookies to remind you of your goals. Better yet, leave those cookies on the shelf at the grocery store. And if you already brought them home, take them out with the trash. I know it sounds harsh, but when those round combinations of sugar and saturated fat call your name, Sometimes they're so loud you can't hear a voice of reason. And the only way to deal with something so obnoxious is to throw them out like an unruly fan yelling at the umpire. But what if you really are hungry? First of all, I'd like to remind you that people often gain weight when they go on a diet. That's right. Calorie restriction triggers hunger, which sends a signal to your brain that food is scarce. Better go into storage mode. And can I just say, storage is not the goal for weight loss. Plus, restrictive diets aren't usually realistic and they often result in binging to fill the emptiness. Overall, not a great strategy when you look at it that way. Do you need to restrict calories to lose weight? Well, yes. It takes a reduction of about 500 kilocalories per day to reduce belly fat. And it can be a slow process. But remember, hunger can be your enemy. On the other hand, it's necessary for survival, so it can also be your friend. When your body is humming along the way it was designed to function, hunger will serve its God-given purpose. We are wonderfully and fearfully made. Before we explore natural ways to suppress appetite, let's go to mini medical school and learn about hunger. We can break it down into 4 components: the brain, the gut, the bloodstream, and something a bit more complicated, the neuroendocrine system. For simplicity, think hormones and neurotransmitters, which are tiny little messengers. And what hormones do you think of when you hear the words appetite or hunger? Here's a list: Ghrelin, leptin, cortisol, insulin, peptide, I feel like that should rhyme or something. Cholecystokinin, glucagon-like peptide 1, bookmark that one. Cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, dopamine, serotonin, and melatonin, at least indirectly. But don't worry, you won't be tested over all of these. My point is that hunger is complex. Part of it is neurochemical, and part of it's just mechanical. Sometimes your stomach is full, which stretches and triggers nerves to send signals to your brain, conveying that message: we're full. Other times it's empty and complains rather loudly. For some reason, that rumbling in my tummy when my stomach is empty is loudest at church. I'm sitting there trying to listen to the word, and a distracting growl comes from my belly that can be heard 3 rows away. Good grief. Over the last weeks on the podcast, I've talked about insulin resistance and controlling blood sugar. When your blood sugar drops, your body calls 911, and the operator inside your head sends out an emergency message to help fast in the form of glucose. With insulin resistance, you have plenty of sugar in the blood vessels, but the door is locked and glucose needs the jaws of life to get inside your cells. This is getting more complicated by the minute, and what you really want to know is how to control your appetite. Hopefully, when you graduate from this mini medical school class, your knowledge will help you prescribe a fix for your own appetite. Remember I told you to bookmark glucagon-like peptide 1? You've probably heard a lot about GLP-1 agonists. These are drugs that mimic what your body makes, and here's how your body does it. Inside your intestines, GLP-1 is made by L cells. Just the letter L. That's pretty easy to remember, but also not that useful. But here's the deal. When you eat, your cells release this GLP-1 into your bloodstream. Think of them like messengers that tell your pancreas to produce insulin and your brain that you're full and satisfied. And these messengers really get around because they also keep your stomach from emptying so fast. This is part of the gut-brain axis, which responds mechanically to being either empty or stretched. And the obvious truth is, we're all different. Our stomachs aren't the same size, and neither is our appetite. But if you're looking to shrink yours and lose a little belly fat too, here's a recipe to try. Eat an adequate amount of soluble fiber. Eat enough protein. Eat monounsaturated fats and omega-3 fatty acids, and eat fermented foods. Did you notice that all 4 of those start with the same 3-letter word, E-A-T, eat? Because you won't control your hunger with hunger. Make sense? Oh, of course, you need to drink enough water, manage stress, exercise, and get enough sleep too. But let me help you make your grocery list to include some soluble fiber, protein, fat, and fermented foods to support a healthy gut microbiome, which in turn promotes a healthy gut-brain axis, which will keep your appetite in check. Oh, you think my appetite is a problem? I guess I did say that. But this body of mine needs a lot of fuel, and I'm trying to nourish it with the good stuff. So here goes. First, head to the refrigerated foods section of the grocery store and get some sauerkraut. Not the stuff in a can, the cold stuff in a jar with catechin, salt, and water. It has fiber, probiotics, and it's fermented. Next, grab some walnuts and chia seeds. You can just add them to oatmeal and get your omega-3 fatty acids. You can also get good fats from avocado and olive oil, or even canola oil for that matter. To get enough protein, just whiz down the bean aisle. And if you just said, I can't eat beans, they make me bloat, then check out the episode in the show notes for your 8-step recovery program. And lastly, I want to camp out on soluble fiber. Because if you're listening to this podcast in the United States, there is a 90 to 95% chance that you are fiber deficient. And that's according to a study cited by the American Heart Association in the Journal of Lifestyle Medicine. And if you're a man, the chance is even higher. So listen up, class. This is important. Polls show that 75% of American adults are overweight. Not obese, just packing on a few extra pounds that increase your health risk over time. And look, it's complicated, but it sure seems like there's a connection here. If you struggle to maintain a healthy weight, you may have tried keto or low carb or medications or supplements or shakes. But have you just tried getting enough soluble fiber in your diet? Not only does it help lower cholesterol, stabilize blood sugar, and promote regular digestion, it also tames your appetite. Not everything in medicine makes sense on the surface, but this one does. Soluble fiber is soluble. Remember that term from chemistry? It just means it dissolves in water. But what happens next is magical. Well, I mean, not really magical. It's just chemistry, but it is pretty cool. When it dissolves, it forms this gel in your stomach, like a big blob that slows down digestion, keeping you feeling full longer, and it prevents those blood sugar spikes, insulin spikes, and helps you get off the whole up and down blood sugar roller coaster. And your body cannot digest this stuff, so it keeps moving through your GI tract. And when it gets to the colon, the fun really starts. See, bacteria live there and they ferment this fiber. In turn, that feeds the trillions of organisms found in a healthy gut microbiome, and it's also known as a prebiotic. And all of this works to control appetite and much, much more. So where do we find this priceless fiber? First, a pop quiz. Is there any fiber in animal products? You know, chicken, beef, dairy. True or false? It's false. Fiber is only found in plants. Things like whole grains, nuts and seeds, beans and legumes, fruits and vegetables. I wonder what would happen if we ate enough fiber. Try it for a day and see how you feel. Monitor your appetite. You might be a lot less hungry with that big GI blob doing its job. Better yet, try it for a week and see if your mood, focus, and energy improve. Mine did. And studies show that insulin resistance can possibly be reversed with a high-fiber diet. Okay, now who's ready for a field trip? This is going to be really fun, and it's free, and you don't even need a permission slip, although it's never a bad idea to talk to your doctor. I'd like to invite you to join me for a 7-day fiber challenge. And we're going big on this with 30 grams a day as the goal. Now, a word of caution, if your body isn't used to fiber, you don't want to ease yourself into this, trust me. But if you're ready to give it a try, grab your spot now for the 7-day fiber challenge because we're kicking off on Tuesday, May 26th. There's a link where you can sign up in the show notes to reserve your spot for this free challenge that might be the one thing that you've never really tried that can change your health forever. You can also go to my website, healthylooksgreatonyou.com, and use that little magnifying glass and search for lose belly fat because you know what? That might happen. In fact, a 10-gram increase in daily soluble fiber is linked to a 3.7% decrease in visceral belly fat over 5 years. If that just got your attention, then go to healthylooksgreatonyou.com/losebellyfat 7-day fiber challenge. Whew, that was a mouthful, so I put a link in the show notes. Or if you follow me on Facebook, I'll be sharing the links there too. It's Dr. Vickie, Vickie. And of course, if you're on my email list, you'll get your own invitation. And if you're not on my email list, why not? We start the 7-day challenge on May 26th, and I'll send you an email or text reminder, your preference, every day for the whole week. I don't want you to miss this because fiber might be the missing link that you need to improve your health. And healthy looks great on you.
The information contained in this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not considered to be a substitute for medical advice. You should continue to follow up with your physician or healthcare provider and take medication as prescribed. Though the information in this podcast is evidence-based, new research may develop and recommendations may change.